It has been estimated that as many as 1 in 3 women across the world has been beaten, raped, or otherwise abused during the course of her lifetime. And the most common source of such violence comes from within the family. Amongst the most extreme forms of abuse is what is known as honor killing. The great majority of the 5,000 honor killings reported to have taken place every year around the world do not make the news, nor do the other myriad forms of violence inflicted on women and girls by husbands, fathers, sons, brothers, uncles, and other male and sometimes even female family members. In the name of preserving so-called family honor, women and girls are shot, stoned, burned, buried alive, strangled, smothered, and knifed to death with horrifying regularity. The reasons for these murders vary. They may be committed because the victim is considered to have breached family or community norms with respect to sexual conduct, or simply because a woman has expressed a desire to pick a husband of her own choice, or because she wishes to divorce or claim her inheritance. Most perversely, rape victims are sometimes viewed as having dishonored their families and are killed by them as a means of erasing the stigma, while the men who rape them often escape lightly. The problem is exacerbated by the fact that in a number of countries, domestic legal systems still fully or partially exempt individuals guilty of honor killings from punishment. Perpetrators may even be treated with admiration and given special status within their communities. Honor killings are, however, not something that can be simply brushed aside or as some bizarre and retrograde atrocity that happens somewhere else. They are an extreme form of discrimination against women. Such discrimination, which includes other forms of domestic violence, is a plague that affects every country. For many women and girls, the family life that is supposed to be productive, protective, and harmonious is little more than a myth. Instead, for such females, family life means physical, sexual, or emotional violence at the hands of an intimate partner or other family members. Domestic violence typically involves punches, kicks, and slaps, or assaults with objects or weapons. It also frequently involves persistent belittlement and humiliation, and often includes the isolation of women from traditional supporters, such as other family members and friends. Sometimes, it may involve forced participation in degrading sexual acts, rape, and homicide. Some women who resist an arranged marriage are locked up by their families for long periods. They are only freed when their will has been broken and they agree to marry the man who has been chosen for them. It is often argued that economic independence and empowerment of women in general are the best way to combat domestic violence, and rightly so. The main reason cited by women for not leaving abusive relationships remains the lack of financial autonomy and access to a safe home. However, too much reliance on these solutions disguises the depth and complexity of the problem. Domestic violence has also been on the rise in countries where women have achieved a considerable degree of economic independence. Successful businesswomen and female parliamentarians, lawyers, doctors, journalists, and academics have all been known to lead double lives, applauded in public and abused in private. The reality for most victims, including victims of honor killings, is that state institutions fail them and that most perpetrators of domestic violence can rely on a culture of impunity for the acts they commit, acts which would often be considered as crimes and be punished as such if they were committed against strangers. Over the years, some people have argued that states should not assume responsibility for acts committed within the private realm of the family. And certain states insist that family violence has no place within the conceptual framework of international human rights. However, under international laws and standards, there is a clear state responsibility to uphold women's rights and ensure freedom from discrimination, whether it occurs in the street, in the office, or at home. This includes the responsibility to prevent, protect, and provide redress, regardless of sex and regardless of a person's status in the family.